Hey guys, so it's been about a week ever since the game came out, and obviously playing the game for a week, we do have a lot more information on how things work as opposed to at the time. So I decided to go ahead and remake my talent trees video. This is one of the most commonly asked questions, so by the end of this video you should know what talent tree to use on any occasion for any unit in the future without really needing to get confirmation or whatever. So at the time, we basically thought that the tree, like the elemental part of the tree that you guys have probably seen by now, was actually affecting elemental damage, aka bleed, burn, dismantle, which is actually not the case. So essentially, the elemental part that you can find in the skill trees affects a unit's element. Now, as you have probably noticed, every unit does have its own element, and if you want to check which element it is, you can just go here. You press view, actually no, not view. You want to press stats and you can see, so for example, Curse King is actually a demonic unit. It deals 50% or 1.5x or damage against holy enemies. So anything in regards to the skill tree that buffs elements, such as this one, elemental damage or elemental penetration, or this one right here, another elemental penetration, or this one, elemental penetration. This affects only your element damage. It does not buff your bleeds whatsoever. So, knowing that out of the way, let's just say that for now, this tree is not really needed. Later on, if you encounter stages where there are a specific element, you can run this on specific units. It is probably going to give you a lot more damage as opposed to a standard tree. But for now, let's get that out of the way, right? Like, we don't really need to talk about that anymore. Let's get it out of the way. And yeah, speaking of trees, guys, in case you are wondering, with the update coming, we do have a way to actually reset our tree. Like, we will be able to reset our tree. It's probably gonna cost gold. I don't know how much, but you will be able to set your to reset your stat tree. So, moving on. The most commonly question is, what build should I play for Sukuna as of right now? Should I play nuke build or damage build? So, first of all, I will go ahead and just showcase the nuke build, just so you guys can see it. I currently don't run it on my Sukuna, but I will change it with the update. I'm currently just running a crit build for damage. So the way the tree goes for nuke is we want to buff the base damage of the unit as high as possible. So we're going to start here with -2 SPA. We're going to go with the crit damage, obviously. Then we're going to go with 6% damage to buff our base damage, which buffs our nuke. So we're not going to do for this SPA build. We're going to go for 6% damage. And then we go for 5% damage, range SPA, into crit, into damage, to elemental penetration. This is kind of a dead one, but it's because we want to go for this one, which gives like 25% raw damage, 15 range, and -10 SPA. So this is going to be the build for your nuke build. Let's get it out of the way. You just basically want to buff your base damage as much as possible. And now for the two damage builds that are playing around at the moment, and I don't think that unless there is drastic changes, anything will change. We do have the crit build and we do have the bleed build, or rather the dot build. So it's very simple, guys. If your unit is not an elemental unit, if it doesn't do dot damage, burn, dismantle, or bleed, you go with the crit build, which looks exactly like this. Pretty much just what I have here. Why did I even leave my skill tree? I don't know. So you go SPA, into crit damage, into SPA. You can go for damage if you want. I would probably advise SPA. I will show you why I advise SPA. Into this one, Enlightened Sight, into the big crit, into damage, into even more crit damage, and then Bullseye. Now, you could make the case that you could just go for this one, 10% less crit, and SPA, but I don't really think it's needed. I think you could just go for that. I think that's the standard crit tree. Depending on the unit, if you have a unit with really high SPA, such as Gojo, like Gojo has pretty decent high SPA, but again, that's without Overlord or something. Gojo would play Overlord ideally. You could potentially just like drop 10% crit, and actually, I don't know. I don't even know if it's worth. You lose 15% damage and 10% extra crit just for that 10% SPA. But on units that have really high SPA, this one is probably the way to go. Just keep that in mind. So they should pretty much just cap the raw damage build. And then lastly, we have our elemental units. Units that do dot damage. So this one, it comes down to two factors, guys. If you have Avatar on your unit, Avatar is a scarce that buffs your dot damage furthermore. It buffs your dot damage by 250%. You play the same build that we showcased for the nuke. So you will go here, SPA, into crit damage. You will go into damage because your bleed scales based on your base damage, right? It's 2.7x of your base damage. You will go into Enlightened Sight, into big crit, into raw damage. You don't want to play vision, obviously. And then you will go this way. So this is the tree that's gonna be played for a dot unit that has avatar. If your dot unit does not have avatar, I would still suggest you to just go with a crit build. So you would go like this, into this, into this, this. So that would be the ideal trees for every single unit, and I don't think that anything is going to change in the near future at least. That's how the trees should work. I guess I will just make a pretty quick Photoshop and just attach it to the screen with all of the builds, so you guys could just pause and choose whichever tree you want. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, nuke build is identical, exactly identical to avatar build, avatar dot build. Units that have bleeds but don't have avatar still play crit, and units that don't have crit just still play crit damage build. These are going to be the 4 distinct builds. And lastly, obviously, we have the elemental damage we spoke about. I'll just throw this picture right here with all of the element categories in the screen. This might come useful for you guys in the future, so make sure you just keep this picture somewhere in mind. So this is the element cycle, and this is how elements react with one another, where you do more damage and where you take less damage from, I guess. And that's pretty much it. Honestly, there's nothing else. Now, we do have a new update. Genos, I believe, is going to be a burn unit, probably. Probably a ground unit that has burn. That's my take. Celestial Saber is probably just going to be a raw DPS unit, so you want to go full crit on Saber, just full crit. I think that's going to be the best build. We do have a Mashley, which I have no idea how the guy works and what kind of a unit that is going to be. We also have Deidara, apparently confirmed. Deidara is a Naruto unit. Apparently it's a he, even though it looks like a she. Funnily enough. We don't know how this guy is going to work either, so it's kind of impossible to tell. But yeah, just follow along for those like 4 builds. Like the 2 general builds, and then for the elemental units, just literally comes down to your curse technique. If you do have all seeing or something, just use your thing, like your crit build for all seeing. Anything else other than avatar, go crit build. If you have avatar, go nuke build, aka bleed build. It's literally that simple. But yeah, anyway guys, I hope this video helped you out because this is a really common question, and I'll catch you guys on the next. Peace.